Oh, crap. I need my notes right there. I set them down. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I said I was
video.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's in there. I think that's in there.
Extra credit.
I wanted to start off really quickly with just mentioning why I even wanted to do this program. I was, doing the PhD program. We need electives, right? And so I was like, well, may as well do this because who knows? Maybe it'll come in handy, right? Getting a certificate for superintendency. And I've never been somebody to really kind of go out of my way to do something for myself. And I thought, I'm not that kind of guy. I don't want to be the superintendent because, that's the guy. That's the man. I feel like I've always fought against the man. So that's always kind of been my role. So anyway, I also didn't think, the electives aren't normally the tough classes. They're the ones I might take for fun. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of do this, see how it goes. I'm sure I'll get something out of it. And it turned into something a lot more inspiring than I anticipated. The introspection component came out of left field for me. I didn't realize I was going to be looking at myself so much. Like there's this mirror that I had to hold in front of myself. And it was just very revealing. My educational practice has always been empowering others, not focusing on me. And that was even the impetus for even doing the PhD is I want to be able to help others at a higher level. I want to get into something that's really going to give me the power to motivate and to do other things that can empower other people. So it was really difficult, and I mentioned this on my personal learning component. It was hard. That was the hardest assignment for me. So if you move on to that component of the class, I'm on this guest speaker, sorry. I struggled with it. What helped me with that were these guest speakers, because I get to these guest speakers and now I start changing my lens from looking at the man to thinking, all right, Jenny's not the man. She has personality, she's witty, she demonstrated her heart, and you just learn from that, and that was really inspiring. Then came Sarah, and I had worked with Sarah, I think she was in an ARD once, a really hard ARD with, a room full of people, and she just talked about the ways that being prepared and being purposeful about what we did, the accountability components, and I saw that in working with her, and she probably has no clue that we sat in the same room together once because I was there just learning, and I was the AP there just kind of sitting there listening to my principal who also had to be there, right? And then Steve came in, and he's in the big, he maybe sounded more like the man to me from kind of his personality. But he talked about his love of learning, of reading, and how taking the time to read these books and to edify yourself really makes a difference and really saves you time on the back end. It was practical. And so that really stuck with me. Again, super inspiring. And it was tremendous exposure from the source, from the horse's mouth, right? Which again brought me to the personal best. I'm gonna click it once. This is how it made me feel. It was like I needed to be like, show my blue steel so I could kind of look at myself, but that's what made it so difficult for me. But it did force me to think critically about my practice. It forced me to allow me to get feedback from my colleagues. Like I went and asked these people that I worked with during that time about what it was that worked about my discipline approach when I did that in middle school, and how I see myself fitting into this whole man role. And so that's kind of what it made me reflect on that, and I've never really spent that much time on myself. And so I really appreciated that about that approach, that assignment. The forums, I was the first one to raise my hand and said, no, I don't like the forums, but it really gave me, and I put some quotes from our classmates because, there's yours. And so, I don't know, it's like it gave you an insight that other people are also thinking critically about these things, and that was something that I don't feel like I experienced that in my forum experience in the past. And so you can proceed there, and I had a little, I do normally hate forums, and it's just kind of how it feels, like you say something and either somebody bashes you, or they're cool, yeah, I agree too, and you're just another egg in the cart, and that's why I've always kind of felt that way. So we'll proceed to the next one. The organizational memo. Again, it was mentioned earlier that it really also got you to think about some aspects of the job that you wouldn't otherwise think about, and so I feel like that purposeful nature of the assignment brought in some thinking, and I really liked that Dr. Aidman got his quote on there. it pushed me to really think. I don't feel like a lot of times I would do assignments in the past, not in this class, in other schooling, and it was just there. And so the fact that his responses and his very detailed assessment of his notes on the side, I appreciated it. It made me feel like I want to think, yeah, there's this guy again, you can't get away from him. Anyway, it pushed my thinking, and I appreciate that. I think that's something, that's one of the major ways that I grow, is to really be pushed. See if we can get past this time. Application, the last thing is putting it all into action. And so the final few that I have here, the case studies, the ethics, the communication, the presentation of learning is putting all this stuff into practice. How did it impact you in thinking about those things and articulating it, especially coming from peers that are doing the same? I think it's a really good way to unsettle us and to make us feel like we can do something with the information. That's it.
Good job.
There we go.
Funny.
I'll go next.